The cost of meat at the grocery store continues to climb, squeezing household budgets and forcing difficult choices at the dinner table. You buy the starter plants, you till the soil every single spring, and you pour money into fertilizers, only to watch annual crops wither at the first frost, leaving your shelves empty and your wallet lighter. It is an exhausting, expensive cycle that leaves many self-sufficient growers wondering if true food security is just a pipe dream. Our grandparents and great-grandparents did not live under the tyranny of the annual seed catalog or the supermarket supply chain. They relied on a forgotten class of deeply rooted, incredibly resilient perennial crops that produced massive amounts of clean protein year after year without needing to be replanted. Today, we are restoring that lost wisdom and breaking the cycle of seasonal dependence by reclaiming the permanent backyard abundance that modern convenience made us forget. In this video, we are counting down 10 forgotten perennial protein plants that you will only ever need to plant a single time. These 10 traditional powerhouses deliver more protein per square foot than traditional livestock, and they will thrive in your garden for decades. Make sure you stay with me all the way until we reach our number one spot, because that specific plant is a legendary, overlooked heavy hitter that yields an astonishing percentage of pure protein, thrives in almost any container, and survived the harshest winters of the pioneer era completely unscathed. What if you could completely bypass the grocery store meat aisle by dedicating just a small corner of your patio or backyard to plants that behave like permanent infrastructure? Think about turning a one-time investment of $20 into a 30-year supply of nutrient-dense food that grows back thicker every single summer. Take a look at a grower named Margaret from Uzda, Zone 6 in Ohio. She replaced half of her traditional annual vegetable beds with these specific perennials 4 years ago, and today she harvests over 40 pounds of high-protein greens and roots every single season without buying a single new bag of seed. Today, you will discover which backyard leaf actually mimics the protein profile of eggs, which ancient root crop thrives in a simple 5-gallon bucket while outperforming beef, and how a specific forgotten hedge plant can safeguard your family against food inflation forever. If you want to master these timeless, low-input growing methods every single week, hit that subscribe button right now and drop your specific growing zone in the comments below. All right, let's get into number 10. Number 10. Jerusalem artichoke. Many modern gardeners look at this towering, broad-leafed beauty and see nothing more than a structural background plant or an ornamental curiosity for the backyard. The truth is that our ancestors viewed this magnificent perennial as an absolute cornerstone of the self-sufficient homestead, a plant that works tirelessly beneath the soil to pump out massive, protein-dense tubers while requiring zero maintenance from you. Once you put this crop into the ground, it establishes a permanent colony that will reliably produce an abundant harvest for 25 to 30 years. The sheer longevity of this plant means that a single afternoon of planting this autumn will reward you with decades of food security and thousands of dollars in grocery savings. To get the absolute best performance from this resilient producer, you want to provide a well-drained loam with a soil pH between 6.0 and 7.0, though it will tolerate poor, sandy soils quite well. It requires at least 6 hours of direct sunlight daily to maximize tuber development, and you should space your initial root cuttings roughly 18 inches apart to give them room to expand. For those growing in the United States, you will want to get your roots in the ground during the early autumn months across the Midwest and Northeast, while southern growers can plant all the way into late November. In Canada, prioritize early October planting to ensure the roots establish before the hard freeze, whereas our viewers in the United Kingdom and Australia will find that late winter or early spring is the absolute perfect window to plant as the soil begins to awaken. Number 9. Good King Henry. People today often spend small fortunes on annual spinach seeds every single spring, battling leaf miners and watching their crops bolt into bitter seeds the second a summer heat wave arrives. They completely miss out on this ancient, arrow-shaped perennial green that delivers 3 times the protein of standard store-bought greens while returning from the dead every spring like clockwork. This hardy green will happily occupy the exact same square foot of garden soil or patio container for 15 to 20 years without ever needing to be replanted or coddled. It is an unstoppable food factory that pushes up tender, high-protein leaves from early March all the way through the hard frosts of November. This plant thrives beautifully in a slightly alkaline to neutral soil with a pH ranging from 6.5 to 7.5, making it ideal for standard potting mixes or native backyard clay. It is incredibly unique because it actually prefers partial shade, requiring only 4 to 6 hours of sunlight, and it needs a modest 12-inch spacing, making it the absolute perfect choice for tight container setups on a shaded porch. Growers in the United States across the Pacific Northwest and the Northeast should plant this hardy green in early spring, while southern gardeners can successfully plant it in the autumn for winter harvesting. Canadian growers in British Columbia and Ontario will find it incredibly cold hardy, requiring only a light mulch in late October, while gardeners in the United Kingdom and Australia can keep this plant producing almost 12 months a year by providing just a bit of midday shade during the peak of summer. Something most guides won't tell you about maximizing this plant's massive protein yield is that you must ruthlessly pinch off the central flowering stalks the very moment they appear in early summer. If you allow the plant to flower, it diverts its precious nitrogen and protein reserves away from the leaves and into seed production, but by snapping those stalks off, you force the crown to double down on thick, savory, protein-dense foliage. There is something deeply satisfying about walking out to your garden in the freezing rain of early spring and harvesting a basket of rich, substantial greens while your neighbors are still waiting for their seed packets to arrive in the mail. Before we head to number 8, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss out on these timeless backyard survival strategies. Number 8. Scarlet runner bean. Most gardeners assume that beans are strictly an annual affair, requiring tedious seed saving, indoor starting, and constant replanting year after year. This spectacular, vigorous climbing vine completely shatters that misconception by establishing a massive, permanent root system that pumps out heavy clusters of protein-packed pods every single summer for a generation. A single planting of this magnificent perennial vine will actively produce heavy, protein-rich harvests for 12 to 15 years without a single pause. As the root system matures over the first 3 seasons, the vine becomes increasingly drought-resistant, delivering higher yields each year while protecting your family budget from soaring food costs. To get the absolute maximum yield from this climber, aim for a rich, well-draining soil with a pH between 6.0 and 6.8, and ensure it receives at least 8 hours of blazing, direct sunlight every day. Because these vines can easily reach 12 feet in height, space your initial plantings at least 24 inches apart against a very sturdy trellis or a permanent backyard fence line. In the United States, gardeners in the humid South and West should plant these roots in early spring after the danger of frost has passed, while those in cold northern states should wait until the soil warms to 60 degrees. Canadian growers in southern Ontario and Quebec can successfully grow this as a long-term perennial by burying the root crown under 6 inches of straw mulch before winter, whereas growers in the United Kingdom and Australia can plant in late spring and watch the vines completely cover a patio fence in a matter of weeks. Here is an insider secret that standard commercial growers keep to themselves. While this plant fixes its own nitrogen, it is an absolute glutton for potassium. If you top-dress the base of the vine with nothing more than raw wood ash from your fireplace or wood stove every single spring, you will trigger an absolute explosion of flowers, resulting in double the amount of high-protein bean pods from the exact same plant. Running your fingers through a jar of your own homegrown, perennial dried beans gives you a wonderful sense of old-fashioned security, knowing you have a permanent storage of clean protein sitting right in your pantry. Number 7. Patience dock. This robust, ancient vegetable is often completely misidentified as a common weed or an ornamental dock by modern landowners who have lost touch with the land. In reality, it is one of the highest-yielding perennial greens in existence, packed with a massive amount of plant-based protein, iron, and essential minerals that rival any cut of meat. This incredible plant will live happily in your garden beds or large containers for 15 to 25 years, pushing up edible green growth before the winter snow has even fully melted from the soil. It is virtually indestructible, surviving extreme droughts, bitter cold, and total neglect while continuing to feed your family. It prefers a damp, fertile soil with a pH ranging from 5.5 to 7.0, though it is highly adaptable and will grow in heavy clay where other crops would quickly suffocate. Provide it with at least 5 hours of sunlight daily and space your plants 15 inches apart to accommodate the deep, powerful taproot that searches for nutrients deep within the earth. For American growers, autumn is the absolute prime time to plant this hardy vegetable across New England and the mid-Atlantic, allowing it to establish its deep root system over the winter. Canadian gardeners in the chilly prairies will appreciate its legendary cold tolerance, as it survives Zone 3 winters with ease, while growers across the United Kingdom and Australia can harvest these nutrient-dense leaves almost entirely year-round due to their mild winters. Something most modern gardening guides will never tell you about this specific plant is that the youngest, tenderest leaves harvested in early spring can be eaten fresh, but the older, massive summer leaves contain higher concentrations of protein. To unlock that midsummer protein without any bitterness, simply blanch the mature leaves in boiling water for exactly 60 seconds. Discard the water, and you will be left with a tender, mild green that tastes exactly like premium creamed spinach. There is a deep, quiet comfort in knowing that no matter what happens to the global food supply or the price of electricity, this ancient perennial will rise from the frozen ground every single spring to provide your family with free, high-quality nutrition. Number 6. Watercress. When people think about growing their own food for self-sufficiency, they almost always picture digging up their lawns, buying heavy tools, and dealing with muddy garden beds. They completely overlook the incredible potential of small-scale backyard aquaculture, missing out on this delicious, peppery perennial green that thrives in simple water containers and contains a higher percentage of protein than almost any land-based vegetable. Once established in a simple tub or water feature, this aquatic perennial will continuously propagate itself for decades, requiring zero weeding, zero watering, and absolutely zero traditional garden maintenance. You can harvest the crisp, clean stems every single week of the growing season, and the plant will simply grow back faster in response. This floating powerhouse requires a stable water environment with a pH between 6.5 to 7.5, and it absolutely loves a sunny location that receives at least 6 hours of direct light daily. You do not need to worry about traditional spacing. Simply place a small handful of starter plants into your water container, and they will rapidly expand to cover the entire surface area within a matter of weeks. In the United States, growers across the Pacific Northwest and the southern states can keep this aquatic plant thriving outdoors all year, while northern growers should bring a small bucket of it indoors to sit near a sunny window during the dead of winter. Canadian gardeners in British Columbia can maintain permanent outdoor setups, whereas viewers in the United Kingdom and Australia will find that this plant loves their cool, damp climates, producing non-stop throughout the entire spring, summer, and autumn seasons. Here is an insider tip that will supercharge your aquatic harvest. Although this plant lives entirely in water, it needs a steady supply of micronutrients to build its high-protein leaves. Instead of buying expensive chemical fertilizers, simply drop a single tablespoon of organic liquid seaweed extract into your water tub once every month. This simple action introduces over 60 trace minerals that will turn your water crop into an absolute nutritional powerhouse. Sitting on your back patio on a warm summer evening, listening to the gentle splash of water while harvesting a crisp, peppery salad directly from a beautiful container brings a wonderful sense of modern self-reliance. We have officially made it through the first half of our countdown, and we are getting closer to that incredible #1 spot that you absolutely cannot afford to miss. If you are finding real value in this video and want to continue learning how to transform your backyard or patio into a permanent, old-fashioned food sanctuary, take a brief moment right now to hit that subscribe button, tap the notification bell, and join our wonderful community of traditional growers. Number 5. Earthnut Pea. Many people look at this beautiful, yellow-flowered perennial and assume it is just a wild sunflower growing along the roadside or a decorative border plant for a cottage garden. The incredible truth is that beneath those bright blossoms lies a massive, dense network of crisp, nutty tubers that are absolutely loaded with protein, prebiotic fiber, and essential nutrients that keep your body fueled all winter long. This incredibly hardy perennial will easily occupy the same corner of your garden for 30 to 40 years, multiplying its underground tuber yield every single season without requiring you to buy a single new root. It is so resilient that it can easily withstand sub-zero winter temperatures and blistering summer heat waves without breaking a sweat. It prefers a loose, well-draining soil with a pH between 6.0 and 7.5, and it absolutely requires at least 6 hours of direct sunlight to fuel its rapid summer growth. When planting your initial tubers this autumn, space them roughly 12 inches apart and about 4 inches deep in the soil to give them room to establish their permanent colony. For gardeners in the United States, particularly across the Great Plains and the Northeast, autumn is the absolute best time to plant these tubers so they can settle in before the winter freeze. Our Canadian friends in the prairies and Ontario will find this to be one of the most reliable crops they can possibly grow, as it is completely immune to hard frost, while growers in the United Kingdom and Australia can plant in late winter for a spectacular autumn harvest. Here is an insider secret that will save you an immense amount of frustration down the road. This plant is so incredibly vigorous that its root system will rapidly expand and try to take over your entire garden bed if left unchecked. To enjoy its massive protein yields without the headache, always plant these tubers inside a large 30-gallon fabric container or bury a deep plastic root barrier around your designated garden patch to keep this productive powerhouse exactly where you want it. Bringing a heavy basket of these clean, crisp tubers into your warm kitchen on a cold December afternoon feels like discovering buried treasure right in your own backyard, providing a wonderful sense of true food security. Let us move on to number 4, asparagus, an ancient, perennial shrub whose tender spring shoots have been prized for their exceptional nutritional profile for over 2,000 years. Number 4, asparagus. When most people think of this luxurious, gourmet vegetable, they think of the sky-high prices at the local supermarket, or the delicate, short-lived annuals in a commercial greenhouse. They completely forget that this ancient plant is actually a deeply rooted perennial that, once properly established, will deliver an abundance of thick, protein-rich spears every single spring for nearly 30 years. Investing just a tiny bit of time and effort into planting this permanent crop today means you will be harvesting premium, high-protein spears every spring for 3 decades without ever purchasing another seed packet. It is a beautiful, long-term investment that pays massive dividends in both nutrition and grocery savings year after year. This regal plant requires a rich, deeply dug soil with a neutral pH between 6.5 and 7.0, and it demands at least 8 hours of full, unobstructed sunlight daily to maximize its yield. Space your initial crowns roughly 18 inches apart in a dedicated trench, ensuring they have plenty of room to develop their extensive, permanent root structures. In the United States, gardeners across the Midwest and Mid-Atlantic should plant their dormant crowns in the early spring as soon as the soil can be worked, while southern growers can successfully plant in late autumn. Canadian growers in Ontario and the Maritime provinces will find that this plant loves their cool spring weather, while our viewers in the United Kingdom and Australia can establish their permanent beds in late autumn to take full advantage of winter moisture. Something most modern gardening guides will never tell you about maintaining a high protein yield from this crop is that you should never cut down the tall, feathery green ferns that grow up after the spring harvest is finished. Those beautiful ferns are the plant's solar panels. Let them grow all summer long, and top-dress the bed with a heavy layer of rich compost and alfalfa meal in late autumn to feed the roots for an explosion of thick spears next spring. Standing in your garden on a sunny April morning, snapping crisp, juicy spears directly from the earth and bringing them straight to the breakfast table connects you directly to the slow, beautiful rhythms of traditional self-sufficient living. Number 3. Walking onion. Almost every kitchen cook uses onions and garlic every single day. Yet almost every gardener treats these kitchen staples as annual crops that must be pulled up, destroyed, and replanted every single season. This extraordinary, multi-headed perennial onion completely changes the game by producing an endless, perpetual harvest of savory, protein-rich greens and small bulbs that walk across your garden and replant themselves forever. A single cluster of these incredible perennial onions will happily feed your family for 20 years or more, expanding its footprint automatically every single season without any extra work from you. It is one of the most reliable, winter-hardy sources of savory, nutrient-dense food you can possibly add to your homestead infrastructure. They thrive perfectly in a well-drained, fertile soil with a pH between 6.0 and 7.0, and they prefer a bright location that receives at least 6 hours of direct sunlight daily. Space your initial bulbs roughly 10 inches apart, and they will quickly multiply, forming a beautiful, permanent cluster of savory food. For growers in the United States, autumn is the absolute perfect time to tuck these bulbs into the soil across the Northeast and Midwest, allowing them to grow strong roots before winter arrives. Canadian gardeners will find that these hardy onions will easily survive the bitterest winters of Alberta and Saskatchewan with zero protection, while viewers in the United Kingdom and Australia can plant them at any point during the autumn or winter months for a non-stop supply of fresh kitchen greens. Here is an insider secret that will maximize your continuous harvest. When the heavy top bulblets cause the green stalks to bend down and touch the ground in late summer, do not cut them off. Let them touch the soil naturally and gently press the little top bulbs into the earth right where they land. They will instantly strike roots and start a brand new, permanent onion cluster, allowing your food supply to literally walk across your garden and expand itself for free. Tossing a handful of fresh, savory perennial greens into a hot evening soup, knowing that your kitchen will never run out of this essential flavor, brings a wonderful sense of abundance and security to the homestead. Number 2. Tuna tree. Modern gardeners often allocate massive amounts of space to low-yielding annual greens that require constant watering, shading, and protection from pests. They completely overlook the incredible power of edible perennial trees and large shrubs, missing out on this historic, tree-like vegetable that produces an absolute mountain of tender, high-protein leaves that have been a prized survival food across Asia for centuries. This magnificent perennial tree will stand strong in your backyard or a large container for 40 to 50 years, delivering an increasingly massive harvest of high-protein greens every single spring as its root system deepens. It requires absolutely no seasonal replanting and becomes completely drought-proof once established, protecting your family against unpredictable weather patterns. It prefers a rich, well-draining loam with a pH between 6.0 and 7.0, and it absolutely loves a sunny spot that receives at least 6 hours of direct light each day. If planting multiple trees to form a permanent, edible privacy hedge, space them at least 36 inches apart to allow their branches to spread beautifully. In the United States, gardeners across the Pacific Northwest and the warmer southern states can plant this tree in early spring, while northern growers should grow it in a heavy container and move it to a protected garage during the coldest winter months. Canadian growers in southern British Columbia will find it thrives beautifully outdoors with a thick layer of root mulch, while viewers in the United Kingdom and Australia can plant it in late autumn to let winter rains establish the root system before the summer heat arrives. Here is an insider tip that most standard nursery guides will never tell you. If you let this tree grow naturally, it will shoot straight up into the air, making the delicious top leaves very difficult to harvest. To turn it into a high-yielding, accessible food factory, perform a technique called coppicing by cutting the main central trunk down to about 4 feet high every single winter. This forces the tree to push out a dense, low canopy of incredibly tender, high-protein spring shoots that you can easily harvest without a ladder. Harvesting your dinner greens from a beautiful, permanent backyard tree brings a deep sense of old-fashioned pride and self-reliance, proving that true food security can be both incredibly productive and beautifully integrated into your landscape. We have officially arrived at our highly anticipated number 1 spot, the legendary perennial protein plant that we teased at the very beginning of our video. This incredible, overlooked powerhouse is the absolute holy grail of self-sufficient gardening, delivering an astonishing concentration of pure protein that actually outperforms traditional livestock per square foot, while requiring a single afternoon of planting to feed your family for decades. Let us reveal number 1. Number 1. Chinese yam. The absolute king of forgotten perennial protein plants is an extraordinary, deeply rooted vine that our ancestors prized above almost all other garden crops for its sheer survival capability. Modern agriculture completely pushed this magnificent plant aside because its incredible roots and dense leaves do not fit into the rigid machinery of commercial farming, leaving this legendary powerhouse completely forgotten by the modern world. Once you place this magnificent vine into your soil or a large patio container, it establishes an incredibly powerful, permanent root system that will reliably produce a massive mountain of high-protein food for 30 to 50 years. It is an absolute fortress of nutritional security that will outlive most annual gardens combined, returning every single spring with unstoppable vigor. This legendary climber thrives beautifully in a loose, well-draining soil with a pH between 6.0 and 6.5, and it requires at least 6 hours of direct, warm sunlight daily to fuel its massive growth. Space your initial root cuttings roughly 24 inches apart against a very strong trellis, a stone wall, or a permanent garden arbor that can support its heavy summer canopy. For American gardeners across all zones, early spring is the absolute ideal time to plant these roots, as the soil begins to warm, while southern growers can also successfully plant in the autumn. Canadian growers will be absolutely thrilled to know that this plant is completely cold-hardy down to Zone 4, requiring nothing more than a simple layer of straw over the winter, while our viewers across the United Kingdom and Australia can plant it in late winter to enjoy an absolute explosion of high-protein growth by midsummer. Here is the ultimate insider secret that commercial growers completely overlook. This magnificent plant actually provides a double harvest of clean protein that most people don't realize. While the massive underground tubers are packed with complex starches and clean protein, the small bulb-like structures that form along the climbing vines in late summer are also entirely edible and contain an even higher concentration of pure protein. Simply collect these vine bulbs, roast them in a hot oven with salt and pepper, and you have a delicious, nutty snack that completely replaces store-bought nuts or meat. Pulling a heavy hot tray of these magnificent roasted perennial tubers and vine bulbs out of your oven in the dead of winter provides a profound sense of true independence, knowing that your family's nutritional security is permanently anchored right in your own backyard soil. Now, I want to hear directly from you. Please take a quick moment right now to drop your specific USDA growing zone, your UK region, your Canadian province, or your Australian state in the comments below, so we can all share advice tailored to our specific climates. If you found real value in this video, please hit that subscribe button, tap the notification bell so you never miss a single weekly episode, and give this video a thumbs up to help us share this timeless gardening wisdom with the world. Happy gardening, and I will see you right here in the next video.